In the floating cities of Venus, where steam and cloud mingle like drifting spirits, we gather at the edge of the platform, peering into the white gold expanse. The air is thick with a warm haze, pressing and humid, though lighter than the weight of Earth's sky. The sound of hissing boilers echoes between the tethered airships, their metal hulls glinting as they sway, restless in the shifting winds. They warned us, those who remain anchored to the city's sheltered heights. Their voices, crackling over the comms, remind us of the risks, how few come back with stories that make any sense. Still, we prepare, adjusting gauges, checking pressure valves, tightening brass screws that seem ready to fly loose under the strain of our excitement. It isn't the machinery that stirs our fear. It's the thought of what waits out there, in the sky beyond the clouds. When we rise, the ascent is a slow one. Steam funnels through the pipes with a low, steady hum, lifting the airship inch by inch until the city is swallowed by fog below. The horizon disappears, and we float in the belly of the clouds, where light dances like phantom fire. There is a silence, soft but unyielding, broken only by the occasional clank of metal, the churn of pistons. Above, something vast glimmers, moving with a grace that defies the ship's mechanical rhythm. It takes time to spot the sky-jellyfish. They appear first as a shimmering pulse, flickers of violet and emerald, the light moving in waves through layers of mist. No maps can trace their migrations, nor instruments capture their scale. They exist like ghosts, blending seamlessly with the fabric of Venus's sky. We see them only when they want to be seen, when the distance closes just enough to reveal the vast gelatinous bodies, undulating like the ocean's deepest creatures, but freer, more ethereal, as if bound to nothing at all. They know things, the jellyfish. It is said that they carry memories, gathered from aeons spent drifting in the high clouds, tracing the hidden rivers of the planet's atmosphere. We have come to ask them our questions, though no one knows if they can answer in a way we would understand. Their knowledge is something they keep close, locked away in slow rhythms and silent pulsing light. We watch the largest one as it glides closer, its tendrils long and drifting like threads of starlight, stretching across a vast, unmeasurable length. Someone calls out, asking if we see it too, and we murmur yes, yes. The jellyfish pulses, and its body shimmers in hues that speak of stories. Stories older than our ships, older than the city floating far below. The ship's controls tremble under our hands as it nears, almost brushing the hull, and a sense of awe settles over us, reverent, weighty. There is something deeply alien about it, something too vast to comprehend, but familiar, as if it has always been there, waiting in the clouds. They, the ones who have seen these creatures and returned, say that the jellyfish hold no malice, no threat. They float as they always have, gliding through centuries. But there is something different today. They are watching us, assessing. We feel it in the subtle shift of color, the way the patterns of light change as we draw nearer. The crew is silent, holding its collective breath. We reach out, though there is no touching in this meeting, only a gaze, a silent understanding. The jellyfish begins to pulse more slowly, and its colors dim to a pale blue, soft and calm, as though inviting us to listen. The stillness settles over us as we drift alongside the great creature, caught between the motions of machinery and the timeless rhythm of the jellyfish. They, watching from the platform far below, would not believe this. This communion, this unspoken conversation in a language of light and silence. It feels like we're in a place between worlds, where the boundaries blur and the air itself holds secrets. It moves, circling your ship with a grace so effortless it seems woven into the sky itself. We barely dare to breathe, as if any sound might shatter the connection, send it gliding away into the mist. But it lingers, close enough that we can make out the translucent layers of its body, see into the depths of the creature, where light shifts like a pulse of ancient memory. They say these jellyfish have seen things. The floating cities are young compared to them. The steam-powered hulls of our airships, nothing more than a passing glint against the expanse of their lifespan. We cannot know what they remember, but for a fleeting moment, we almost understand. Their colors deepen, rich violets turning to blues, and then into a shade so dark it borders on black, and we realize it is showing us something that exists beyond the shape of what we know. In that darkness, there is a flicker, a pulse of light like a heartbeat. The crew exchanges glances, eyes wide, silently acknowledging that this is something not meant for us alone. They, the creatures of this sky, are offering a glimpse into a past long lost, something buried in the depths of Venus's thick clouds. Images form, soft and indistinct at first, then sharper, more vivid. We see shadows of structures, fragments of a city that doesn't belong to us. It is older, far older, carved from materials we cannot name. In these visions, towering spires reach out into the sky, their surfaces glistening, some kind of crystal or metal, yet far smoother, more delicate than our crude alloys. They rise from platforms that float, just as ours do, tethered to the clouds in a way that seems almost organic, as if grown rather than built. They, those who lived in this ancient city, move like phantoms, figures cloaked in long robes that ripple and blend with the mist. Their movements are slow, deliberate, unhurried, as though they have all the time in the world. They reach out, touching one another's hands, speaking in murmurs that echo through the sky. A language we cannot hear but feel, resonant in our bones. We lean forward, transfixed, as more images unfold, flashing in bursts of light from the jellyfish's body. The ancient city rises and falls, its beauty crumbling as the clouds thicken, swallowing it piece by piece until nothing remains but drifting shards. The jellyfish glows faintly, a mournful light, and we feel the weight of loss, though we cannot name what was lost. A warmth fills the space between us, a recognition of shared sorrow, as if the creature mourns for those who came before, those who vanished into the depths of time. And then, as suddenly as the vision began, it fades, leaving us in silence. We look around, meeting each other's eyes, searching for confirmation that we all saw it, felt it. No one speaks, for words would break the fragile understanding that binds us, the awareness that we have glimpsed something sacred, something that cannot be told, only carried. The jellyfish drifts back, and its colors shift again, softening into a pale, comforting blue. It feels like a farewell, like an offering of peace. We feel humbled, tiny in the vastness of its presence, yet honored to be part of something so ancient, something that stretches beyond our narrow history. The ship hums beneath our feet, ready to pull us back to the city, but we linger, watching as the creature fades into the clouds, returning to its hidden paths. They, the others who wait below, will ask what we saw, what we learned. They will look at us with eyes full of questions and hopes, but we will not know how to answer, not fully. We will try to describe the beauty, the sorrow, the vastness, but there are things words cannot hold. We feel the ship's engines begin to shift, guiding us back toward the city lights hidden far below. As the clouds close in around us, swallowing the last glimmers of the jellyfish's light, we know we are different. The creature has left something within us, an imprint, a memory of its memory, a fragment of a world that once was and maybe again in ways we cannot predict. And so we descend, carrying the unspoken wisdom of the sky back with us. They will look at us with curious eyes, waiting for answers, but we will have none. Only the faint glow of memory, a distant light in the mist, and that perhaps will be enough. As we descend, the city's shape emerges, a blur of metal and steam faintly outlined in the clouded depths. Lights shimmer across its many tiers, piercing through wisps of vapor, a reminder of our place in this vast, shifting landscape. We drift down slowly, still wrapped in the haze of our encounter, the glow of the jellyfish's memory lingering like an after-image behind closed eyes. They meet us at the dock, voices buzzing with anticipation. The engineers lean over the hull, ready to inspect the wear and tear, asking if we encountered turbulence. The watchers, those who keep to the city's inner sanctums and study the skies from afar, hover nearby, their eyes gleaming with curiosity, waiting for tales that never quite fit into charts and data. But we don't speak, not at first. The memory of the jellyfish and its spectral visions has settled into a quiet place within us, a presence that resists being torn into words. They look at us, sensing the weight we carry, and their questions soften, curiosity turning into a silent reverence. We move through the city's narrow corridors, steam pipes hissing on either side, as if the very machinery listens to the silence that has grown around us. They press no further, perhaps knowing that some knowledge must ferment, take root in its own time. The watchers eventually trail off, leaving us to wonder, our thoughts still tangled in the delicate light of the jellyfish's visions. Later, in the quiet of the night cycle, we gather in a dim, overheated chamber, where we watch plumes of vapor swirl through the small observation window. They, those who are drawn to the mysteries of the sky, join us in small numbers, seated along the walls, leaning forward, faces half lit in the glow of the flickering lamps. None of us has fully shaken the feeling, as if the jellyfish's colors are still painted across the inside of our minds. It's then that someone finally speaks, breaking the silence in a low, tentative voice. Did you see it too? The city in the clouds? There are murmurs, nods. Yes. Yes, we all saw it, though no two images are quite the same. They share glimpses, a spire here, a glint of metal there, flashes of crystalline structures, and together we begin to piece together something coherent, as if weaving strands of a dream. But what stands out most is the sense of loss that accompanied the vision, that slow, inexorable fading of a world that once was. One of us suggests it was a warning, a vision meant to caution us, to remind us that even floating cities can crumble. Another disagrees, saying it felt more like a gift, an offering, something meant to connect us to the planet we hover above, yet barely understand. The steam in the room thickens, warm and suffocating, like the embrace of Venus's atmosphere. We feel it close around us, as if the jellyfish's memory has seeped into the very air, lacing it with something potent and strange. The feeling of communion, of understanding, grows in the silence, a weight shared without need for words. They, the few who did not venture out with us, listen intently, wide-eyed, absorbing the fragments we offer. They ask about the ancient city, what it was made of, what happened to those who built it. But we can only offer vague impressions, half-formed ideas, the way one might try to describe the shape of fog. After a while, the conversation wanes, replaced by a contemplative quiet. We sit together, each of us replaying the vision in our minds, wondering what it means for our own city, our own floating spires tethered to the clouds. The thought emerges, unbidden yet inevitable. If the jellyfish remember the past, what do they see in our future? Will they mourn us too, someday, as they mourn that lost city? Eventually we rise, each drifting back into the depths of the city, our minds swirling with questions that cannot be answered. We return to our posts, to the hum of the machines, but something within us has changed. Something subtle, yet unmistakable. The city feels different, smaller, more fragile. We see it now, not as a fortress in the clouds, but as something delicate, temporary, like the glimmer of the jellyfish against the dark. Days pass, and the vision fades, settling into the corners of memory. We speak of it less often, though a look sometimes passes between us, a shared understanding, as if to say, yes, I remember too. And yet, even as the details blur, something stirs beneath the surface, as if we are meant to return, to follow the jellyfish deeper into the clouds, to uncover what else they might show us. They, the watchers, the city's leaders, begin to ask if we will venture out again, perhaps on a longer journey into the denser clouds where the largest jellyfish are said to dwell. There is talk of preparations, of outfitting the ship with greater fuel reserves, of creating insulated suits for the crew, for who knows what waits in the layers of atmosphere far below. We hesitate, sensing that this next voyage would not be like the last, that it may take us beyond the borders of safety and knowledge. Yet something in us yearns to go, to see once more the creatures who carry the memories of a planet, whose light reveals stories that cannot be seen by the eyes alone. In the stillness of the cloud-bound city, where our lights pulse faintly against the endless horizon, we wait, caught between the longing to know and the instinct to stay within the safety of the known. And as the city continues its slow drift across Venus's skies, we wonder if the jellyfish wait too, floating in the depths, watching us with their patient, luminous gaze. The city's rhythm continues, mechanical and steady, a beat that keeps us grounded, even as our minds drift to the clouds beyond. We sense the pull of the jellyfish's world growing stronger, a hum at the edges of our days, in the hiss of the pipes and the low murmur of the engines. Even those who stayed behind begin to feel it, as if the visions we shared have seeped into the city itself, tinting every breath of steam with mystery. Preparations begin in earnest. They, the engineers, the mechanics, the machinists, work through the nights, reinforcing the hull, modifying the boilers to withstand the harsher depths. They fit the airship with reinforced steam lines, thicker glass windows, a control room sealed against the denser, hotter layers of the atmosphere. Word spreads quickly, and whispers ripple through the city. This journey will take us closer to the heart of Venus than any have dared go. We, the ones who glimpse the jellyfish, stand ready, our minds tingling with the memory of that vision, that ancient city swallowed by time, Some of us have never felt such a pull, such a quiet, unshakable calling. For others, the fear lingers, settling in the space between breaths. But even they cannot resist the urge to return. It feels inevitable, as if we have been summoned by something larger than ourselves, drawn into a story that stretches back to a time before human memory. The day of departure arrives, heavy with the weight of anticipation. They, the watchers, the city's leaders, gather to see us off, their expressions a mix of trepidation and wonder. No one knows how long we will be gone, or what we might find. There is only a feeling shared silently among all of us, that whatever awaits will change us in ways we cannot yet imagine. As we ascend, leaving the city lights behind, the airship's engines hum with a newfound intensity, the reinforced hull creaking as we plunge deeper into the dense clouds. The air grows thicker, the light dimmer, as layers of mist close around us, swallowing the familiar sights of the floating city. Soon, even the faintest glow of the city's beacons fades, and we are alone in a vast ocean of cloud, guided only by instruments and intuition. They appear gradually, faint glimmers at the edge of our vision, like stars emerging in a dusky sky. The jellyfish are here, larger than before, their bodies pulsing with deeper colors, royal blues, dark violets, and an eerie green that seems almost to seep from their course. They drift around us, circling the airship with a curious slowness, their tendrils trailing like rivers of light. We watch in awe, caught between wonder and fear as they approach, drawn to us like moths to flame. One by one, they come closer, their bodies filling the windows, their colors casting strange shadows across the control room. We feel their gaze upon us, an intelligence that defies language, something vast and ancient pressing against the walls of our minds. They are not merely creatures of the clouds. They are guardians, watchers, keepers of memories that stretch beyond our understanding. And now, they are showing us something new. A pulse of light ripples through them, and we see another vision, this one more vivid, more intense. The ancient city rises again in our minds, but this time, it is not a ghostly remnant. It is alive, bustling with figures that move with purpose, their eyes bright with knowledge and intent. The structures shimmer with colors that shift as they breathe, and the air hums with a strange energy, a technology that blends seamlessly with the natural rhythms of the planet. They, the ones of this city, seem to be in communion with the jellyfish, their hands raised as they send waves of light across the sky. The jellyfish respond, their bodies pulsing in patterns that match the figure's movements. It is a dance, a language, an exchange of wisdom that flows between them, as natural as the clouds that drift around us. Then something shifts. The figures look up, eyes wide with fear, as a darkness descends upon them, a shadow that spreads across the sky. The vision blurs, colors fading into deep shades of black and grey, and we feel a sense of dread settle in our chests. The city begins to crumble, its spires shattering, its lights flickering out one by one. The figures scatter, their voices lost in the wind, and the jellyfish drift away, their light dimming as if in mourning. And then, silence. The vision fades, leaving us with only the sound of our breathing, the hum of the engines, the faint, lingering glow of the jellyfish outside. They watch us, their colors softening into a pale, sorrowful blue, as if they too remember the loss, the end of a world that once was. We exchange glances, the weight of the vision settling upon us, heavy and unyielding. It feels like a warning, a reminder that even the most advanced cities, the most harmonious connections, are fragile, vulnerable to forces beyond control. There is a sense of kinship in the jellyfish's gaze, an unspoken understanding that what they lost, we too could lose if we are not careful. The jellyfish begin to drift away, their bodies fading into the mist, but one remains, larger than the rest. Its light a deep, resonant violet. It hovers close to the hull, its tendrils stretching toward us, and we feel a pull, a beckoning, as if it is inviting us to follow. There is no hesitation. We adjust the ship's course, steering toward the creature, letting it guide us deeper into the clouds. The air thickens, growing almost solid, pressing against the hull, and the instruments begin to falter, their readings erratic, the dials spinning without direction. But we do not stop. We feel the jellyfish's light in the darkness, a beacon guiding us through the unknown. And we follow, trusting that it will lead us to something we are meant to see. Hours pass, or perhaps only minutes. The sense of time distorts as we sink further, deeper. The light outside dims, until only the faintest glow of the jellyfish remains, a pulse in the darkness. And then, at last, we emerge into an open space, a vast hidden world within the clouds. Below us, stretching as far as the eye can see, is another city, shimmering faintly in the violet light. It is different from the vision, its spires older, worn by time, but still intact, standing like sentinels against the clouded sky. We stare, speechless, as the realization settles over us. We have found it. The lost city of the ancient ones, preserved in the depths of Venus's atmosphere. A monument to a civilization that vanished but was never truly gone. They, the jellyfish, drift above the city, their lights casting an otherworldly glow across the structures. We sense their approval, their pride, as if they have waited for us, for someone to see and remember, to carry this knowledge back to the floating cities above. And in that moment, we understand our purpose, the reason we were called to this place, to bear witness, to remember, to carry forward the memory of a world that once was, and to ensure that it does not vanish again. The city stretches out beneath us, vast and labyrinthine, its towers and domes crafted from materials that glint in the jellyfish's violet glow, their surfaces etched with symbols and patterns that defy our understanding. Even from this distance, we can see how the architecture blends with the clouds, merging seamlessly into the atmosphere, as if the structures were grown rather than built. It is as though this city, unlike our own, was born from the very fabric of Venus, designed to float eternally in harmony with the dense, shimmering mists. We guide the airship lower, letting it drift gently toward one of the wider platforms that emerged from the mist. The platform is enormous, wide enough to hold our vessel and then some, and it gleams faintly, its surface covered in intricate carvings that swirl in patterns too vast and detailed to comprehend all at once. We descend carefully, the hum of the engines muted, as if even the ship knows it is an intruder here, something foreign in a world that breathes an ancient silence. They, the watchers who remain with us in spirit back in the floating cities, would want us to document everything, to record every detail, to categorize and analyze. But standing here at the edge of this lost civilization, we feel an overwhelming reverence that silences the impulse to observe and classify. We are not explorers here. We are visitors, perhaps even guests, stepping lightly into a place that exists beyond our reach. We disembark, feet touching the smooth, cold surface of the platform, and a feeling of awe washes over us, deep and profound. The air is thick, humid, and charged with an energy we have never felt before. The jellyfish drift above, their tendrils casting soft, ghostly shadows that seem to move with purpose across the carved stone, as though guiding us. Their colors shift gently, pulsing in a rhythm that feels almost like speech, as if they are trying to tell us something, whispering in their own language of light and motion. We walk, moving slowly across the platform, letting our eyes trace the carvings beneath our feet. Symbols and shapes repeat, forming spirals and geometric figures that pulse faintly, as if some hidden life remains within the stone itself. It feels like a map, a story woven into the very bones of the city, waiting to be read by those who can understand it. One of us reaches out, fingers brushing against a column that rises from the platform, its surface covered in tiny, precise etchings. As our hand meets the stone, a faint glow spreads across its surface, soft and warm, and we feel a pulse, something that resonates within us, a heartbeat from the past reaching out to touch the present. It is then that we realize this city is not truly abandoned. It is alive in its own way, a memory preserved in stone and light, held together by the will of those who built it, and perhaps by the jellyfish who have watched over it ever since. They, those who once walked these platforms, left something of themselves here, imprinted into the very architecture, into the air, into the clouds that cradle the city. We feel their presence, faint yet unmistakable, as though they are watching us, waiting to see what we will do, if we will honor their legacy, or repeat the mistakes that led to their end. We begin to explore, moving from platform to platform, passing beneath arches and into open halls, where the carvings grow denser, more intricate, almost like pages in a book. Each structure tells a fragment of a story, each symbol a piece of a puzzle that seems just beyond our understanding. The jellyfish follow us, hovering above, their lights casting ever-changing colors across the walls, as if illuminating the path forward. It is then that we notice something, a pattern within the symbols, a repetition that grows clearer the more we look. It is a sequence, a phrase, a message woven through the architecture itself. We gather around, following the symbols with our fingers, piecing together meaning from fragments, letting the knowledge settle into us like drops of rain in the desert. They, the ones who built this city, were not merely architects or engineers. They were storytellers, record keepers, preservers of knowledge that spans beyond the limits of human time. Their story, the message they left behind, is not just a record of their civilization, but a warning, a plea to those who might come after. We do not understand every word, every symbol, but the meaning is clear enough. Be careful, they seem to say. Do not take for granted what the planet gives. Respect the balance, or risk losing everything. The jellyfish glow brighter, their colors intensifying, as if affirming the message, echoing it through the clouds. They have kept this place alive, preserved it as a testament, a reminder that knowledge and life are bound to the planet's rhythms, that to disrupt them is to court ruin. We feel a weight settle within us, a responsibility, as if this message has been entrusted to us. A burden we did not expect but cannot refuse. We linger in the city, absorbing as much as we can, knowing that our time here is limited. that eventually we must return to the floating cities above. The jellyfish hover close, their light softening, as if offering comfort, a quiet encouragement that we are not alone in carrying this burden. At last, as the air grows thicker and the energy begins to wane, we prepare to leave. The city fades into the mist behind us, but the memory of it burns bright, a vivid imprint that will never fade. As we ascend, the jellyfish follow, watching us until we are nearly out of sight, their bodies pulsing in a final farewell. They, the ones who wait for us above, will not fully understand what we have seen, but we will try to tell them, to share the warning, the message, the beauty of a lost world that still lives in the depths of the clouds. And as we return, carrying the memory of the city and the silent wisdom of the jellyfish, we know that we too have become part of the story, bound to the clouds, to the city, to the mysteries of Venus in a way that can never be undone. And perhaps someday they, the jellyfish, will call us again when the time is right, when the skies are ready to reveal another layer of secrets. Until then, we will wait, watch, and remember. The ascent feels different this time, heavier, as if the airship itself carries the weight of all we have seen. We watch the dense clouds peel away, revealing slivers of sunlight piercing through the thick Venusian atmosphere. The light seems sharper, casting the city in shades of gold and shadow, a reminder that we are returning not as explorers, but as bearers of an ancient truth, a responsibility that clings to us like mist. They, the watchers, the engineers, those waiting at the city's edge, see us approaching and gather at the docking station. We sense their curiosity, the quiet murmur of questions held back, the intense, silent expectation. As the airship settles onto the platform, we disembark, faces still etched with the lingering wonder of our journey. And the crowd presses close, sensing something profound in our silence. The watchers come forward first, notebooks in hand, scanning us with eyes bright with unspoken questions. "Did you find it?" they ask in whispers, though the air feels too charged for mere words to convey what we have seen. We nod, a small movement, and their faces light up, eager to hear more, to absorb every detail. But we hesitate, casting glances at each other, silently deliberating how much we can, how much we should share. One of us steps forward, clearing our throat, and begins to speak, voice low but steady. The city is real. It's down there waiting, preserved in the clouds. The words falter. For how does one capture the sight of a world lost to time, or the way the jellyfish seem to guide us, to show us memories locked in the stone itself? The watchers lean in closer, hanging on every syllable. But our descriptions feel pale, shallow, as if they cannot contain the depth of what we witnessed. We recount fragments, small pieces of the experience, a glimpse of towering spires, carvings that pulse with hidden life, the jellyfish's guiding glow. But when we come to the message, the warning woven through the architecture, the crowd grows still, sensing the gravity in our voices. We share what we understand of the plea carved in stone, the reminder to tread lightly, to honor the balance of the planet and not repeat the mistakes of those who came before. They listen, wide-eyed, and a quiet understanding spreads through the group, a murmur of respect passing from one to the next. But there are those among them, the skeptics, the planners, the ambitious minds, that see our words not as a warning, but as an opportunity. We catch their glances, sharp with ideas, thoughts of excavation and study. of bringing pieces of the ancient city back to the floating platforms for examination, perhaps even for display. We feel a chill, a deep unease that stirs at the edges of our minds. The jellyfish's final message, the soft, glowing farewell, returns to us. And we realize that this discovery could unravel the very balance we have been warned to preserve. The city below is not ours to claim, not a relic to be mined for its secrets. It is a memory, an offering, a legacy meant to be observed and honored, not disturbed. As the watchers press for details, eager for maps, coordinates, directions to guide future expeditions, we feel a tug within us, a responsibility that refuses to let us yield to their demands. We exchange glances, a silent agreement forming between us, and one of us speaks up, firm but gentle. This is not something we should exploit. It was a gift, something we were meant to witness, not possess. The city below belongs to itself, to the jellyfish who guard it, and to the memory of those who built it. To disturb it would be to risk losing what we have seen. They, the planners, the ones with visions of cataloguing, excavating, cataloguing, fall silent, their expressions darkening as they sense the boundary we have drawn. But others, the quiet ones, those who have always looked to the clouds with a certain reverence, nod in understanding. They see the wisdom in restraint, in allowing the mystery to remain, honoring it as something sacred rather than dissecting it to satisfy curiosity. Over the following days, the city returns to its routine, yet a shift lingers in the air, subtle but profound. They speak of the hidden city in whispers now, voices hushed as though in respect. They begin to mark the clouds with a new significance, observing the jellyfish's movements with a deeper reverence, as if recognizing that these creatures hold guardianship over something ancient and fragile, something that reaches beyond our brief time here. We too change in quiet ways. The urgency to explore, to uncover, dims, replaced by a quiet sense of purpose. A feeling that we are stewards rather than conquerors of the skies. We watch the clouds with new eyes, searching not for secrets, but for meaning, listening to the hum of the city, the creak of metal, and the hiss of steam, as if trying to attune ourselves to the rhythms that exist beyond the hum of machinery. Sometimes at night, we gather in small groups on the platforms, gazing out into the depths of Venus's atmosphere, waiting for the faint glimmers of the jellyfish to appear. We no longer feel the need to descend, to probe further, but there is a comfort in watching their lights drift through the clouds, in feeling that connection across the vastness. They, the jellyfish, hover just beyond reach. Their colors a soft, comforting pulse, like stars in the mist, a reminder that we are not alone in the skies. As time passes, stories spread, passing from one to another, becoming part of the city's lore. They, the new explorers, the young engineers, the dreamers who come after, grow up hearing tales of the lost city, of the guardians in the clouds, of the knowledge that lives deep in the mists of Venus. They learn not to see the planet as something to be conquered, but as something to be respected, cherished, and preserved. And in our own way, we become like the jellyfish, keepers of memory, guardians of stories, silent witnesses to a world that stretches beyond our understanding. We watch over the floating city, bearing our quiet knowledge. And when they, the next generation, look to the clouds, we remind them to see not just with their eyes, but with the reverence and caution of those who know the weight of lost history. The city drifts, floating on currents of mist and time, a quiet beacon in the clouds. and we, its keepers, wait and watch, knowing that some things are meant to remain unseen, treasured for what they represent, woven into the fabric of the sky itself. And somewhere below, the jellyfish continue their vigil, drifting through the depths, carrying the memory of the past in their gentle, luminous glow, waiting for the day when the sky is ready to share its secrets once again. Seasons pass in the floating city, though Venus's cycles are unlike any on Earth. The days stretch into weeks, the nights blend into months, and the clouds shift around us in endless, subtle motion. Our lives settle back into routine, yet each of us carries a quiet, indelible awareness, a bond with the depths of the clouds and the silent guardians that drift within them. They, the new engineers, scholars, and watchers, grow up with our stories woven into the fabric of daily life. The city's designs evolve too, in response to the mysteries we uncovered. They begin to study the clouds and winds not merely as obstacles or hazards, but as systems, elements of a world that breathes and moves in its own way. New airship models emerge, crafted to ride the currents with less strain, their boilers more efficient, quieter, designed to harmonize with the rhythms of the atmosphere rather than disrupt them. The jellyfish sightings continue, though they seem more frequent now, as if the creatures have grown curious about our world too. On certain nights, when the clouds thin and the city's lights dim, we gather on the higher platforms, watching as the jellyfish drift close, their bodies pulsing in waves of color that cascade through shades of violet, green, and gold. It feels almost like a conversation, an unspoken exchange that deepens with every encounter. Over time, those who once pushed for further exploration of the lost city, grow quieter, less insistent. They too have felt the change, though they seldom speak of it. There is a sense that something has shifted, that the mysteries of Venus are no longer puzzles to be solved, but living, breathing phenomena to be respected. It is as if the city has settled into a new kind of equilibrium, a peace that permeates the corridors and platforms, spreading like the soft hum of machinery, unobtrusive but ever-present. Then, one evening, as we stand on the observation deck, a strange light appears on the horizon, far below, beyond the reach of our ships or our understanding. It shimmers, faint at first, a glint of silver in the thick atmosphere, but it grows steadily brighter, an ethereal glow that seems to rise from the very core of Venus itself. They, the watchers, the astronomers, the dreamers among us, speculate, theories bouncing from one to another. Yet none can account for the source of the light. It pulses in the distance, rhythmic and deliberate, almost like a signal. We watch in silence, a mix of awe and trepidation settling over us as the light grows, casting strange shadows across the city's platforms. The jellyfish gather too, their bodies drawn to the glow, floating nearer in greater numbers than we have ever seen. A vast swarm of light and color drifting through the clouds like a river of stars. They surround us, their bodies pulsing in response to the distant glow, creating a harmony of light that we do not fully understand but feel in our bones. A resonance that fills the air with a strange, reverent energy. One by one they begin to descend, drifting toward the source of the light, their tendrils trailing like luminous threads through the clouds. We watch, transfixed, as they disappear into the depths, drawn as if by an invisible current. It feels as though something is calling them, a force that reaches across the vastness of the atmosphere, summoning them to a place we cannot see. And then, the vibrations begin. They start as a faint tremor beneath our feet, a shiver in the metal of the platforms, the machinery around us humming with an unfamiliar energy. The city feels alive in a new way, a deep, pulsing rhythm that aligns with the glow on the horizon, a beat that seems to originate from the very core of Venus. We feel it in our bones, an ancient rhythm, like the heartbeat of the planet itself, and the realization dawns among us. Venus is not a silent world. It has simply been waiting for the right time to speak. They, the watchers, the leaders, those who have studied the planet for years, gather urgently, theories flashing through their minds, ideas clashing and intertwining as they try to make sense of the phenomenon. But no one has answers. For the first time, the city is united not in knowledge or ambition, but in awe, in a shared reverence for the vastness of what we cannot understand. As the tremors continue, growing stronger, we wonder if this is the beginning of something new, or the final echo of something ancient. The jellyfish do not return. They remain hidden in the depths, lost to the light that pulses like a heartbeat, as if they have found a new purpose, a new journey that only they can understand. The glow on the horizon shifts, colors blooming across the sky, patterns rippling through the clouds in waves that seem to convey a message, a final parting from the creatures that once guided us. It is as if they are saying goodbye, leaving us to carry forward the memories they preserved, to keep the balance they upheld, to honor the wisdom they shared. We watch until dawn, standing in silence as the glow fades, as the tremors settle, leaving only the soft hum of the city, the familiar steady rhythm that has been our anchor for so long. And as the clouds close around us, we know that something within us has changed irrevocably. The jellyfish are gone, yet their memory lingers, woven into the very fabric of the city, a quiet presence that we carry forward, a reminder that we are part of something vast, something bound to the planet's pulse. In the days that follow, the city feels different, quieter, as though the jellyfish's departure has left an emptiness, a space we cannot fill. Yet there is also a newfound peace, a sense that the mysteries of Venus are not ours to solve, but to honor, to watch over, as the jellyfish watched over us. And so, we become the watchers, the guardians of memory, keepers of the sky. We tell the stories to those who come after, sharing the wisdom of the clouds, the lessons of the jellyfish, the rhythm of Venus that beats beneath our feet. They, the next generation, the future explorers, the dreamers yet to come, listen with wide eyes, and we see in them the spark of reverence, the recognition of a world that exists beyond understanding. The city drifts on, floating through the clouds, a quiet beacon in the mist, and we, its keepers, remain, bound to the skies, watching, waiting, listening to the hum of the planet, knowing that we are but a part of its story, a single note in the long, unbroken song of Venus.